Hi, I'm Deirdre Griffin and I'm an artist based in Dublin. This kind of work I'm doing is kind of a mix of physical theatre and dance and colourful things, just things that I'm interested in at the time or that I'm thinking about. I work as a dancer for like a freelance for other dance and theatre companies. And I've also been making my own work. So the name I make work is under is called Head on Body. And yeah, it's kind of just like a mix of absurd stuff and colorful, absurd, physical worlds that I like to kind of create out of things I'm thinking about. Yeah. I was working on with pans for a good few years with a show, an idea called Fantastic. And that kind of stemmed from looking at like infomercials and this kind of world of conning the audience or conning the public into buying things and, you know, taking people's loneliness and transforming it into a crap item and selling it back to them to, you know, to try and combat this kind of life's mundane, you know, monotony. And yeah, so kind of using these kind of ideas and then creating that into something fun and ridiculous. And then I made a full-length show, my first kind of full solo show called Soup. And that was a show about grief after my mother died. So it was kind of like, yeah, looking at grief and looking at how to parody grief as a sort of explorative way, because it's a very difficult thing to talk about or to live through. So when I was a kid, I did loads of Irish dancing, and I was always like, to get up and do a bit of a jig there, you know, dance when the relations were over, you know, and like, and I loved doing it, but I was always like, what do I do with my face? Like I never knew what it was. Kind of like hands down by your sides and like smile, and it was like I had a real joy for dancing, but I was like, well, I never knew what to do with my face because it was never really talked about. Just kind of just smile, or performance wasn't really talked about. So I've always been yeah, just like interested in using my face. And so yeah, it's funny because it is like, it's I suppose maybe it's a different thing because it's maybe more like theater, or that where you use the face more than the body. So when we were making Soup, I did like a first kind of a showing, I guess, down in Dance Limerick. So it was like it was a really dark, heavy thing, but that's not what I wanted to that's not what I wanted to make as a performance. So I had to kind of then keep layering it and be like, you know, just mixing things together. What is it? What is the tone of this? And it is a really like shit thing, and it's like it's awful, and but that's not what I want to show. It's like how we deal with it. It's like how you get through things is often with something that's not it. It's, you know, you laugh at it. It's like it's a dark comedy that's like that gets you past those moments that are just horrendous, you know. think like I'm when I make something, I'm like, I realize, God, I actually have a kind of a, I've sort of a style that keeps coming up. So I like certain things. I like certain colors and moody stuff, and and even though I think like, okay, I'm going to make something totally new now, and then it's like, oh no, it's not. It's the same. I just made the same thing again. And then it's like, well, maybe that's it. Maybe it's like, it's, you know, you have certain things that you're just always thinking about, you know, like kind of existentially or something, or, you know, stuff from your childhood or whatever, that just, they always creep back in. This research is sort of like kind of like a study of being present. So it's trying to be present in the studio and outside the studio. So trying to not really prepare, to be like really like, okay, I'm here and I'm doing this thing. And I've been working with Alain Servant. We were working with a Balinese mask. And this was kind of like these three different masks, and you work with the masks and you work without the masks, and you try and go through the different energies of each mask. And then you're just like, but it's really kind of starting from nothing every time. So you don't have anything to start with. So it's really challenging. And sometimes it's just crap. And sometimes it's good. Like, it's like you have moments where you're meditating, and then you're like, oh, how long was I there doing that thing? Like, so it can be really it can be really good, and it can be really awful. Working with like Lecoq, they're kind of tension, states of tension. And they're really good as well, because they put you in a different, they're not starting from movement. It's, you know, they're starting from a different kind of a tension. And then I'm also looking at protest as well. So as they'll sort of like work together, why we protest, or when it's more like, when do we protest, what's the point of when we decide to protest. And it doesn't have to be like, you know, picketing on the street or something. It can be a smaller thing, a kind of mix of these things.